Coming up in today's video, we're going to look at the latest flash units from Godox. If you enjoy using small cameras, such as the ones that you'll see in a second from Leica, it's really nice to pair them with a small flash. This video will show you what's possible with these affordable lights, the iM20 and the iA32 from Godox. Hey guys, Matt here. If you saw my recent video, I just tested the new trigger from Godox, the Godox X3L, which now gives you high-speed sync flash on your Leica cameras. Well, on these Leica cameras, so I've got a Leica CL, Leica M10P, Leica SL, Leica Q. This trigger is absolutely perfect in terms of the size for these cameras compared to some of the big pro triggers, because they're just too big for like these small Leica cameras. So wouldn't it be great if you could have a small compact flash which would keep in your kit bag? It doesn't take any batteries and it's the same size as this. Well, that's one of the flash units we're going to be looking at. So here's the trigger on the right hand side, and then on the left we have a flash. Yes, this is not a trigger, it's an actual flash, but you can also use it as a trigger, as I'll explain. So this is a new iM20 from Godox, and it's actually smaller than the Godox X3 trigger, which is kind of crazy. When I think of Leica photographers, generally speaking, they don't like flash, but when a unit is this small and this affordable, and it takes no batteries, it's just USB-C charging, which is obviously fantastic. So here you can see the Godox trigger on my CL, which I've been using recently. Great little camera, so you need a great little trigger to go with it. And then here for M users, here is my M10P with the new tiny iM20 flash, and it's such a good size. There is zero excuse not to own this flash, because even if you're doing, say, the occasional photo of your family, or I don't know, you're out on holiday and you get some backlit shot with a beautiful sunset, you need just a little bit of pop of flash. I think it particularly works well on the M cameras, the CL, and then also for you Q lovers, the Leica Q. It's actually the best on the Leica Q, because the benefit of the Leica Q is it's got a leaf shutter, so you can sync this little flash to 0.002 of a second flash sync speed, compared to only 180 on your M cameras and 250 on either the SL or the CL that we've got here. So Leica Q users, this really is built for you. As I say, it fits in your pocket, it's super cheap. I can put a link below to Amazon. I think they're less than £40 GBP. So when Godox reached out to me and said, hey Matt, would you like to test the new flash units after we saw your trigger video, I was like, oh yes please, it looks perfect for our cameras. But because I teach lighting workshops and I'm interested in getting more than just fill flash on camera axis, I had to think about it and like, wait a minute, I could use this as a trigger if I then pair it with other flash units, which are these lights, which I can have off camera. So what you're going to see in this video is me testing this on camera with models and with like static subjects. I can use, say, cameras as my models. These lights are the new iA32s, and they have the sensor on the back, which means when that fires the flash, this sees the light and then this will fire. The special feature with these lights is they have a rotating head internally, so they're really compact and they're really lightweight. They take 2 AA batteries. I'll pop the side open like so, and so because of that I wanted to get some new batteries anyway. So we've got this really cool charger unit from Amazon. This unit comes with 8 AA rechargeable batteries. You can use it for storage, and then when it's charging, the lights show on the top either green or red, which is such a cool design. I'll come on an Amazon link to this below if you're interested. They're not expensive, and again, the USB-C charging. So the testing I wanted to do was to try only the iM20 to show you what's possible with just a tiny little flash, and also share the power output of this little light. 1 off-camera flash, and also firing 2 off-camera flash. You can actually use any off-camera flash units. I just happen to be testing these ones, as long as they've got the receiver, so you can put it into S1 on the back. The second thing I wanted to test is to not have this on camera, and instead fit to the iA32. So the advantage we now have is we can do direct light on camera axes, but we can also tilt it up so it's going to bounce off the ceiling. Now, as a portrait guy, I often shoot in portrait orientation like so. So because of that, I can bounce the light off the wall that way. It will then hit a white wall, say here, and then bounce back onto my model or whatever I'm photographing. Another thing you can do is use this to bounce off the ceiling, to then trigger this as your second light, and then you use that as your hair light or your main light. So these are the lights. Let's see what is possible. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to check was the power output. When you get a flash, you can look at the guide number, which will give you an idea of how much power the flash has got. But when it's something like this, I find it easier to just measure a distance, and then I know if I'm shooting a portrait at 0.7 meters or say 1 meter with either the little tiny iM20 or in this case the iM32, I'll know straight away. I can maybe write it on the back of the flash or somewhere where I know where to find it. Let's say at minimum power of 128th. If I've got the lens set to f1.4 at 1 meter, what ISO do I need to get the correct exposure? Here you can see me using a Sekonic light meter to measure the flash output, and I measured at 0.7 meters, 1 meter and 1.5 meters. And I tested both the minimum output, because I tend to shoot lenses wide open for portraits, and also the maximum output. I did this for both flash units, and so now I know if I'm using, say, film, for example, I know what power to dial in, I know set my distance, and then I can always get the correct exposure every time. Fun fact, if you get too close to these flash units with an iPhone, especially the iA32, they seem to go into some kind of funky strobe mode like that. Okay, let's now try and use these flash units to take some real photos. So before I had my model shoots, I wanted to do some like product photography. So I had the iM20 on camera as fill flash, and also to double as my trigger. Then I triggered two iA32s, one here in the umbrella on the right, and then one in the background to give me some kind of leaf bokeh. So all of the photos you're going to see coming up are shot with the iM20, normally on minimum power, just to give a tiny bit of fill, but mainly to use as a trigger. This is really good setup if you've already got kind of old flash units around the house. Just get an iM20, use that as your trigger, because it's quite a low power light, especially if you block half of it with your finger, as you'll see in some of the other clips. It doesn't have too much effect on the thing in front of you, like the near distance product, but then you get all the effect from the other two off-camera flash, which helps you give a more professional looking image. Well, I thought I was pretty happy. You can also do bounce flash with only the iA32, and I just use the white reflector, camera left, and you can get some really nice results just with bounce light, camera left. And then I also used it to trigger the second iA32 in the distance to give me some lit background and some bokeh. Also had a white umbrella over the camera, and I just bounced it straight up off the white umbrella close to the product, and that gave me kind of more of an off-camera flash look, and it's not too not as harsh as on-camera flash. Again, here you can see the result. Pretty happy considering they're just these cheap little flash units. And again, it's surprising what you can do. Here's a few more examples, a lot of those with bounce flash to the left, using a pair of iA32s, and then the earlier ones with both units. Okay, so that was the control testing done using cameras as my subjects. Let's now use them in real life situations photographing models. As I say, I can put a link below to all the different lights and the battery chargers and the stands and the full kit that I was using for the photos you're going to see. Before we look at portraits, one thing worth mentioning, there's two lights that are very similar, the iM20 and the iM22. The iM20 sits very close to the camera, so if you use a long lens, you will get a shadow from your lens, as you saw in some of those photos, where the iM22 is designed for using with longer lenses to avoid this shadow. Okay, portraits. So one of the easiest way to show the effect of flash is to do mirror selfies, as you can see here. So first for the iM20 full power, next kind of half power with my finger half across, now third power with my finger almost completely covering the flash. In comparison, here is direct flash with the iA32. Again, direct flash with the iA32, so no bounce. And now this is with bounce, so it's directed straight up off the ceiling. You can see it gives you a much cleaner quality of light. And here you can see the effect with a model in the frame as well. Last week I was teaching in Budapest, so I took these flash units as I wanted a small compact setup. Here you can see me using a MagMod, which is a flexible grid that you use on speedlights, and it just happens to fit the iA32, which is cool. It helps you control the light spill, so it's great that those kits work. Here you can see me bouncing the light to camera left or screen left, and that was to bounce off a white curtain to give a more natural looking effect. Now you can see me using the iM20, and this will give you a direct fill flash look. So it's much more, hence as the name suggests, it's a fill flash. It's not going to give you dramatic lighting, but it is maybe more of a stylized look. So bounce light on the left, direct light on the right. Again, this is all with the iM20, and then I'm blocking the light with my finger to reduce it to just minimum power to allow me to fire other off-camera lights. Okay, here's some more examples. So this is the same effect. So first I'm doing direct flash with the iA32. Okay, next you'll see me rotate the head of the iA32 so I can bounce it off the white wall just out of shot. This will give you the window look effect, and it works really well if you just want to carry, say, one small flash that can do bounce flash and direct flash. As I say, it takes 2 AA batteries, and it's much smaller than the Godox TT350 that I also own. The only problem is it's not a rotating head, so that's the only main limitation. Here you can see the difference between direct flash and bounce flash. One of the most popular requests I'm asked to teach during my Leica workshops is portrait lighting. So here you can see me using the iM20 as a small fill flash because the background is so bright. Here you can see the size of the little iM20 on my Leica SL, and there you can see the effect. It just brings up the foreground exposure. This is me teaching another Leica workshop in London a few days ago, and my student wanted to use the 2-flash setup, but he didn't have a way to trigger it. So the way we got around that is we used the Godox X3 triggers to fire a Godox AD100, fired that up into the ceiling, and the light from that fired both iA32s. There you can see the Godox firing the other two lights. So that's a great way to give yourself off-camera flash with your existing kit. And there you can see the resulting photos. Remember, these are more basic flash units. If you do want high-speed sync, you need to get the high-speed sync trigger and also a high-speed sync capable flash such as the Godox AD100 Pro. If these little flash units have inspired you to try model photography, I'll put a link below to my ebook and also to Patreon, where I share over 100 videos with me and how I light my models. Check out this playlist next for more lighting videos.